Hi. It's great to be at Powell's. Powell's is a great place. There's only a few places like this in the country, and you ought to know how lucky you are. You ought to appreciate it. It's wonderful. I wish I were younger and didn't like money so much, because I would live in a place like this. I don't really want to talk for a very long time. I'm kind of tired of sounding my own voice. So I'm going to try and talk just for about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then we can have a conversation. The last time I spoke at Powell's, when I published When Presidents Lie, I was scheduled on a night that they had a presidential debate, and very few of you were here. It was really bad. It wasn't as bad as the night that I spoke in Boston when the Red Sox and the Yankees were playing the same game. But actually, it's not that I lack ego, because believe me, it's not that I lack ego. But I'm actually always happy whenever anybody's here. The first two stops of this tour didn't happen. The first one, the books didn't arrive. It was New Orleans, like not everything's together yet in New Orleans. And the second one, I arrived 24 hours late due to some confusion on the part of various people. But, see, those were accidents. I used to be more important than I am today. I used to loom larger in the imagination of my enemies and my adversaries. When I published What Liberal Media in 2003, I was so important that somebody or some group of people went to the trouble of calling every bookstore that I was appearing at and canceling the gig, saying that I had come down with a stomach virus. Thanks. Oops. How do you get this? I guess you pour it, right? Saying that I'd come down with a stomach virus and that they were really sorry and I had to cancel. And this happened 2 or 3 times, and before we figured out what was happening. And the way we figured it out was they called and canceled the C-SPAN taping, the one that was being taped by C-SPAN. So C-SPAN asked us what was going on, if I was really sick, and I wasn't, so we figured it out and we uncanceled it. But that didn't stop these devious people. Excuse me. They went to the trouble of actually somehow killing all the electricity in the bookstore while I was speaking. And this is true. And it was one of those bookstores, I'm sure it's nothing like this one, where nobody knew where the fuse boxes were. So I had to hold this crowd for 45 minutes while they located the fuse boxes and called the owner and asked them how do you switch them back and forth. And I don't know about you, I don't know 45 minutes worth of clean jokes. I'm not even sure there are 45 minutes worth of clean jokes. So that was a real terror. People always say, "Oh, welcome to Portland. We filmed The Shining here." You want to know terror? 45 minutes of clean jokes. Anyway, it's a great place today. I didn't get rained on. It's lovely. I walked around, had a good meal. Happy to be here. So why did I write this book? Here's the problem, in a nutshell. You call up Americans, you call up 100 Americans, you say, are you a liberal, are you a conservative, are you a moderate, are you nothing? 19 to 22 of them will say they're liberals. 30 to 33 of them will say they're conservative, and 40-something, whatever's left, will say they're either moderate or nothing. Okay? Then you say, okay, I want to ask you a few questions. What do you think about universal health care? 65%. Yes. What do you think about raising taxes on the rich to give to fund a concerted effort to address the problem of climate change? 65% say yes. What do you think about the importance of labor unions? Same numbers. What do you think about tax cuts for the rich? Again, same numbers on the liberal side. What do you think about... some people feel this so strongly that when you ask them, it becomes almost sexual. Or maybe it's me. Anyway, you run down the gamut of these issues. Every single important liberal position has not just a majority of Americans behind it, but a supermajority of Americans behind it, of somewhere between 55 and 70%. Even if you put the question in rather pointed terms, even if you say, do you think we should raise taxes for the purposes of X? Are you willing to sacrifice a certain amount of economic growth in order to protect the environment? Stem cell research. Certainly on foreign policy, it's not even close. 65% of Americans think we should be out of Iraq yesterday, which, by the way, is about the same number, as far as we can tell, of Iraqis who think we should be out of. No, seriously, both countries have very strong supermajorities in favor of the United States leaving. It's just the governments that don't. So, what's going on? What's the problem whereby only 22% of people, at most, sometimes it's less, are willing to adapt the label that associates them with the positions that are held by roughly 70% of the people? Why is it, and what does it mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means that those positions don't get enacted, okay? Because the liberal label has become so delegitimated, devalued, attacked, associated with so many awful characteristics in the public discourse and in people's minds psychologically, with weakness and contempt for everyday people's values and disregard for the family and unwillingness to stand up for the country and to stand up for themselves. The famous quip by Robert Lowell that a liberal is someone who's unwilling to take his own side in a fight. Because these positions of raising taxes on the rich and having a stronger support for the right to organize and having a scientific policy that does not allow certain religious prejudices from interfering with those policies, defending the environment, having a cooperative foreign policy. Here's a real controversial one in the media, although among the rest of the country it's not. If one group of people attacks you from one country, you actually fight those people. You don't fight another group of people who happen to have the same skin tone and speak the same language. I mean, these are positions that are held, again, there's nothing controversial about them. If you say them, they're actually common sense positions. I mean, you can argue that the country has moved somewhat to the right in its thinking simply because what is now considered a liberal position used to be considered a common sense position. Used to be the quote-unquote not crazy position.